Okay, so let me run through some answers and then we'll talk about the ones you have questions about. Have we done any, did we do some of these in class or we didn't do any of them in class? We did the first two in class?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready for, okay, in the box, I'm looking at side A, this is side A of the homework. In the box, there's a picture that looks like this. It's a number line. And there's a dot at -3 and -2. 1. Okay? And we are supposed to make some conclusions about this. So it says, is AC congruent to BD? Now, in order to figure that out, kids, you need to figure out how far it is from A to C. So pretend you can stand on the number line at A and walk to C. So that would be 1, 2, 3 steps. So AC is 3. What is BD? Do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. So BD is 4. Now, are they congruent? No, because congruent means equal, the same. And they aren't, so those are not. Now, what about number 4? AD, how far is it from A to D? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So AD is 6. And then BE, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So those two are congruent. Does that make sense to everybody? All right, now the midpoint of AD. Now there are 2 different ways that you can do this. One way is to just put your fingers on A and D. Midpoint means middle, right? So we can put our fingers here and then take 1 step in and another step in. And look what happens. When I take that 3rd step in, I end up right smack dab in the middle. So the midpoint is -2. So one way of doing it is to be physically till you get to the middle. Now another way to do it is to simply find the average. Midpoint is the middle value, and the middle value is the average value. If you're in the middle, you're average, right? You're the average value. So how do we find an average? Guys, if you have to average 2 things, how do you do it? Oh my gosh, if you got an 8 on a quiz and a 10 on a quiz, and I said find your average score, what would you do? Add them up and divide by 2. Isn't that how we find an average? So if we are averaging A and D, we're going to add them up, -5 plus 1, and divide by 2. Well, what's -5 plus 1? And what's -4 divided by 2? -2. So that's how you can do it with arithmetic. This way you're actually physically like counting, which is okay. Oh gosh, did I start early? That's good, that's good. I'll quit early, how about that? Remind me. Okay, so -5 plus 1 is -4 divided by 2 is -2, or we can just count in. Now the next one's a little bit harder because it says the midpoint of CD. So here are my fingers. If I take 1 step in, look what happens. So now, if I have to come in on a number, aren't I going to come in right there? Which is in the middle of 2 of my numbers on the number line, which is okay. I just have to figure out what that is. So if this is 1, this one would be 0, and this one would be negative 1. What is right in the middle of 0 and negative 1? Negative 0.5? Negative 1/2? So if I use my fingers, negative 1/2, negative 0.5, I come right in between negative 1 and 0. Now, if I average, I'm going to add negative 2 and 1 and divide by 2. Well, what's negative 2 plus 1? Negative 1 over 2 is negative 1/2. So this is how you do it mathematically. Average, add them and divide by 2. Or, if it's reasonable, you can count. Obviously, if we were using numbers like 100 or something, I probably wouldn't want to be doing this, for a long, long time. So knowing how to average is a good thing. All right, so number 7. I got 15 for X, and then I got 40 and 60 for EF and FG. Now, if you didn't get that, we want to go over it. I'll just give you the answers to start with, okay? For 8, I got XZ to be 13.5. Remember, I'll come back and do any of these that I have to. For number 9, I got 4 for X, and 12 and 20 for the other ones. And then for 10, I got 15 for Y, and 31 and 14 for the other 2 things. All right, so let's stick on this side for a second. Anybody have a question about either one of those? Lizzie.
What was number 7?
7, I got 15 for X. And then 40 and 60 for the other 2 segments. All right, so do we need to do that one, Lizzie? Okay. All right, let's do that one. So we're doing, oh no. Oh no. It is an expo marker. Why is it?
Right, all over it like black marker. And then erase that.
Oh, does that work?
Yeah.
Is that a super secret trick you've learned or what?
Yeah.
How did you know that?
I just learned it over my years.
Well, I'm gonna try it and see, because this is not good. I wonder what's wrong with that marker. Well, it erases a little bit better. Still leaves all that red junk. Okay, we're throwing this one away. Not using it. This is for always prepared. Hopefully this will work. Sorry about this, guys. I'm not sure what happened there. All right. Now, Lizzie, I can't even remember which one I'm supposed to be doing. I'm so shook up about my marker.
It was 7.
All right, number 7. All righty. All right, number 7. They drew the picture for me. So I have the segment from E to G. I got an F in there somewhere. And they tell me that the whole shebang is 100. And they tell me this is 4x minus 5. And this is 2x plus 15. And my job is to find x in the two segments, okay? Now, there are two main concepts. One of them says AB plus BC equals AC. In other words, it says piece plus piece equals whole. That is always a concept that you want to be on the lookout for. So in this problem, I have a segment broken up into two pieces. So it will always be the case that first piece plus second piece will equal the whole. Okay? So then I just have an algebra equation to solve. We'll talk about the other main concept in a minute, but this is huge. This is called segment addition. Piece plus piece is whole. And we're going to learn that that works for angles also. All right, so did you say you have 4x minus 20 plus 2x plus 30 equals 100? And combine like terms. So 6x plus 10 equals 100. Now remember, your line is right there. So you're adding these up. You're not moving these anywhere. You're just adding them up. So then you subtract 10. And divide by 6. And we should end up with 90 divided by 6, which is 15. Okay? And then, once we know that x is 15, then we can come back up here and put 15 in right there. So 15 take away 5 is 10 times 4, so this piece is 40. 15 plus 15 is 30, times 2 is 60, and then what's my built-in check? 40 plus 60 adds up to 100. All right, anybody else on that front page have a question? Did you miss anything on there? No? All right, let's look at the review on the back. Can somebody name all the points? What did you say? Name all the points. Declan.
A, B, C, D, E, and F.
Yeah, that's what I said. A, B, C, D, E, F. Name any three rays. Good morning.
Good morning.
Name any three rays. Who's got them? Alec.
B, C, D, E, D, A.
Good. Perfect. We have to be careful. Remember, rays are the only ones where the order of the letters matters. Rays in your picture have to have an arrow. So somebody might say, well, what about BD, Mrs. Ford? Well, look at BD. Does D have an arrow? Then it can't be a ray. Rays go on forever, so they have to have an arrow. These all start at point B and shoot out. Do you see that? Awesome. All right, any two line segments. Oh, there are a bunch of line segments. Did anybody find two of them? Jacob.
FB and AB.
FB and what?
AB.
AB is fine. As long as, Jacob, when you wrote that, when you wrote FB, you put a segment mark over it. Did you remember to put a segment mark over it? Good job. Anybody have a different one you want to check? Because there are lots of segments in this picture.
AB and BC.
AB is one, yeah, as long as you have a segment mark over it, and BC as long as you have a segment mark over it. drawing the line in two ways. In the picture that they gave you, there is only one line. I know there's lots of things in there, but kids, a line has to have an arrow on both ends. Do you see how there's only one that has an arrow on both ends? So how did you name it in two different ways, Jacob?
AC and CA.
That would be perfect. As long as, again, you've got the double arrow on top of it. So AC and CA would be great. Kids, those aren't the only answers. Did anybody have a different answer? You can use any two letters. So what about AB? As long as I put a line over it, that'll work. 2 points make a line. So any 2 points will work. All right, A, 2A. Name a line that contains point Q. DJ, what'd you say? Perfect. I hope nobody said UV. What's wrong with UV?
It's a segment.
It doesn't have an arrow. All right. It doesn't have an arrow on both ends. If you're a line, you got an arrow on both ends. B, name 2 opposite rays. I don't think I did a very good job of explaining this because there's some confusion. So let me try again. An opposite ray, kids. So here's one. Okay. Opposite rays start at the same point, and one goes this way and one goes that way. So when you put them together, you get the whole line. So if you have ray BC, the opposite ray to BC is going to start at B and go the other direction. So that when you put them together, you get the whole line. Does that make sense? So BC is 1, and then the opposite of that would be DA. So in this picture, what are our 2 opposite rays? Eric? QT and QS. That's exactly right. QT and QS are the opposite rays. The end point of a ray is where it starts. I know it seems a little weird. The end point is where it starts, but that's what it is. So the end point of ray BC is B. What is the end point of ray QT? Q. Name all the points that lie on line ST. The points on line ST are S, Q, and T. Any question about anything in this homework at all? Anything you missed that you need clarified? Okay, that's great. All right. Oh my gosh. How was football the other night? Oh my gosh. Oh, thanks. You want to? The kids were telling me that people were like throwing up, and somebody's feet were so sweaty they could pour sweat out of their shoes or something. I don't know. It's gross. I know. Isn't that gross? Oh, so easy. what I need you to do, real quick, is I gave you a note packet a while back. We haven't had it out in a couple days, but I need you to get it out. Your note packet. It's a whole packet, it's stapled together. It says, on the top it says 1.2 notes. We already did that page, so you're gonna go to a different page. It's a whole stapled together thing. No, that's that. Keep going, you're almost there. Yeah, this is, the packet looks like this, but we're turning to the page that says 1.4 or 1-4 notes measuring angles. So that's your note packet, get that out. So the packet itself, it's the only thing I've given you that has a ton of staple pages. It's the big packet. And we're turning to the page that says 1-4 notes. So if the streaming is working, and it was at the beginning, but I think it may have conked out. So if you are out there in streaming land, we are looking at our 1-4 notes, and it says measuring angles. All right, has everybody found the page? All right, so we got to all be on the same thing. So you found your notes. Well, let's do one. This is notes right here. Yep. So turn to the page that says 1-4 notes. First thing is the definition. So we're going to say the vertex. The vertex of the angle. So the word that goes in the blank is vertex. The vertex of the angle is the common endpoint of the rays. So in the picture that they gave you, this right here is the vertex, letter Z right there, that's the vertex in the picture that they gave you. Angles are measured in degrees, and the measure of an angle is used to classify it. Okay, so here are some new definitions. I think you already know them because I know for sure some of you did them with me a couple years ago. But you got this first angle, you got the second one, you got this one, and you got this one. This is called an acute angle. What does the word acute mean? Alec? Under 90, so less than 90 degrees. Anybody know what this kind of angle is called, Dana? What? A right angle, yep, and we use a symbol to indicate that. That's our symbol, and that is a right angle. And its measure is 90 degrees. Exactly 90 degrees. What do we call something like this? Obtuse. Because its measure is between 90 and 180. Please don't say bigger than 90. Okay? It's bigger than 90, but it's also less than 180. It's between 90 and 180. And then what do we call an angle like this? Well, it's a line. It's called a straight angle. And its measure is exactly 180. So acute is less than 90. Right is 90. Obtuse is between 90 and 180. And straight is exactly 180. So you should have that information written down here with those pictures. Okay? Now, use the figure. What are three other names for angle S? So in this picture, we have got to be able to name angle S three other ways. So does anyone have an idea what one of those might be? Patrick?
RST.
Angle RST. And remember, I'm always going to do that because I'm a creature of habit, but you can just do this. This is angle RST. Now, Patrick is right on. Remember that when you're naming an angle with letters, the vertex must be the middle letter. Okay, so can you think of another one? So that's one. Very good, Patrick. Can anybody think of another one? What's another way to name that? Patrick again? Angle TSR. The order of the letters doesn't matter as long as the vertex is in the middle. What else? Dana?
Maybe just S.
Well, yeah, it could be. They called it S. They said, so give me three other names. So yes, angle S is a name for that. But there's still one more. Yes, you can name an angle just with its vertex. Yes, you can. What about this? Can I say angle 3? So all those are ways to talk about that angle. What type of angle is angle S? This is number 2. What type of angle is angle S? A right angle. Very good. Number 3. What is the vertex of angle LGH? G. Remember, the vertex is the letter in the middle. So number 3A is G. What's 3B? What's the vertex of angle MBX? B. The vertex is in the middle. All right, here we go. 4 through 9. Should be able to go through this pretty quickly. 4, what kind of angle is it? Acute. 5, obtuse. 6, right. 7, obtuse. Mitchell, are you following along? Are you writing anything down? Do you have the notes?
Oh, yeah, I don't even have that.
Okay, well, yes you do, they were in Schoology, but I'll see if I have another set of copies for you. Where did we leave off? What's 8? Obtuse. And what's 9? Acute. So no one has a question about that? So if I were to sneak a question on our quiz about that, you'd all get it right? Maybe I'll do that. Oh, that's all right, use the diagram below and we're going to measure each angle. Anybody know what we call this little thing here? What little tool is that? What's the name of that person? That's a protractor. Very, very good. Very good. Now, let's find angle ADB. ADB. Everybody find it? How big is it? How many degrees is it? 25. It's right in between the 20 and 30. Do you see that? Okay. What about F, D, E? Now be careful. F, D, E. How big would that one be?
35.
Is it 35? Yes. Now how are we doing that, you guys? yeah, so here's the deal. When you use a protractor, so we got our protractor here, and we're looking at the angle. There's a label on this ray. That one is 180. And there's a label on this one. It would be 145. Well, or you can use, let's say that, or you can use 0 and 35.
Yeah.
So you can use either set of numbers, okay? Doesn't matter, whatever's easiest for you. But the point I'm trying to make is, to find out what the angle is, you're going to subtract those. You're going to subtract those. So if you do 180 minus 145, or if you do 35 minus 0, you're going to get 35 degrees for that angle. All right, what about DDC? BDC. So BDC, it's over here like this. This would be 25. And C would be 80. So what's the measure of that angle? Subtract these. So what is that, 55?
Yeah.
Would you try the rest of them on your own, 13 through 18? And I'll do them and we'll see, we'll compare, and then we'll look at the sheet that I gave you. All done? You got everything, DJ? All right, DJ, would you give us, what'd you get for 13, DJ?
I got 65.
Okay, Declan, what'd you get for 14?
I got 80.
Anybody get 15? Alec?
100.
And 16? Scout?
120
120?
or 170.
170?
Wait, no, I can't read mine. I think it's 120.
Okay. Patrick?
The next one's 145.
145? And 18? Did I get 18? Pam? 155. All right, let me check these with what I got and see if we need to talk about any of these. What do you think? Are you okay with all of those? Oh, then I must have made a mistake because I'm off on one. I'm in absolutely, you are right. You guys are absolutely correct. Anybody, you don't have any questions? Everybody's good with that? Perfect. Let's look at the sheet that I just gave you. You can put your notes away. And now we're looking at the sheet that says 1-4. It'll be in Schoology, it's in-class practice. We're doing 1-4 in-class practice, but it says on our paper, it says standardized test prep. But it's in-class practice. So you guys at home, this is the in-class practice for 1-4. All right, so, we just did this. This will be easy. What's the answer to number 1? The measure of angle BAC. A, 25? Sorry, Jacob, I didn't see your hand up. Do you want to do number 2, Jacob? What is another name for angle 4? Which one of those would be angle 4? Jacob? H. Now, guys, when you're looking at those solutions, those possible answers, if we're talking about angle 4, which letter has to be in the middle? V. So your answer has got to have a V in the middle. And since angle 4 looks like this, we either are going to say SVW or we're going to say WVS. Those are the 2 options for angle 4. Okay, what about number 3? Which one? V, they are congruent. What kind of angles are they? Obtuse. They are congruent. Now, number 4. This is exactly what we've been doing with segments. Do you see how you have a piece and then a hole? So this plus this has to add up to the whole thing. So our equation for number 4 let's see, this part is 2g minus 2. This is 4g minus 9. And the whole thing is 133 because this is M, this is R, and this is T. So MRT is 133. So 2g minus 2 plus 4g minus 9 has to add up to 133. All right, let's solve it and see what we come up with as our answer. If anybody has a question about solving it, let's talk about it. This is a trick question. Did you get 24? Yeah, because the problem is, guys, they didn't ask for G, they asked for angle MRN, and MRN is 2G minus 2. So we have to do 2 times 24 minus 2. So 46 is the actual answer, so H. That is tricky. How many of you got 24? Did you get 24 for G? Okay, so we had to be careful because they didn't want to know G. They wanted to know the actual angle. Okay, I got 2 random angles that are congruent, and they add up to 90. What kind of angles do they have to be? They've got to be acute. Because if they're congruent and they add up to 90, aren't they going to be 45s?
Yes.
And 45s are acute. All right, let's let's see if we can figure out what they want in number 6. Two angles add up to 128. And they are congruent. Guys, this is the notation for congruent. So these two angles are the same. And they add up to 128. What can you tell me about them, Scout?
They're both gonna be, 68.
64?
Oh, yeah, 60.
Beautiful. That's exactly right. If they add up to 128 and they're equal to each other, would you agree they have to both be 64? So what would it, so the one possible answer is, what is true about these? They're 64 degrees. Could I also say they are acute? They have to be acute, right? All right, let's see what's on the other page. All right, let's try as much of this as you can get down on your own. I promised you I'd stop early. I don't know what time we stop, so let me check my schedule. Let's see how much of this we can get done. We'll check over what you've got. And then I'll hand out your homework, and you can start that. So see if you can at least do the top part. And there's my schedule. What day is this to? Okay, we have let's take 3 more minutes and see how much we can get done in 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am? Oh, shoot, here's the schedule right here. Are you done already? Is there a question? All right, here. Right. Let me click. Yes, sir. Angles is always 2 rays. Yep. Yep. Let's talk about that one, because naming angles is important. So let's make sure we all are getting that. So here's our picture. So we have B, A, T, T. So did anybody, there's supposed to be 4 ways to name this angle. Did anybody come up with one of them? Let's see, who haven't I heard from today? Eddie, did you come up with one way to name this angle?
BAT.
So one way is BAT, angle BAT, perfect. All right, who else? Have I heard from everybody else? Mitchell, give me another way to name this angle.
TAB.
TAB, perfect. Beautiful. All right, Eric. Angle A. You are allowed to use one letter as long as it's which letter? The vertex, right. And person?
Angle TBA.
TBA? Now, what would be wrong, person, about TBA? What letter has to be in the middle? The vertex. And if we did TBA, we'd be talking about a different angle. DJ? Angle 2. So there are your 4 ways, guys. Doing the 3 letters in both orders, doing the vertex letter, and then using the number. Now, part 2, oh wait, name the sides of the angle. The sides of the angle are ray AB and ray AT. The sides of an angle are always rays. So if you think about your angle, these are the sides. And then the vertex is of course A. A is the vertex. Now, what do you think interior and exterior means? Carson?
Like inside or outside?
Same thing as it means like in the real world. So an interior point would be point K and B. I didn't even see B out there, you're right, because it keeps going. An exterior point would be R. And points on the angle would be I and C. That's kind of common sense. We didn't really talk about it, but you okay with that? All right, well, I'm getting carried away and I promised you I wouldn't. So let's pause on that. And here's your homework. Huh? You already got them done? You're amazing. Good job. Some of you work so quickly. You know what? I think, well, all right, we need to sign out. Okay. Carson, how did volleyball end up against Center Grove?
Oh, we beat them.
We did them. Oh, we did them.
We went to 3 with them. Sets.
Okay, wait. Here's my notebook. We have to sign that. And sign it when you come back in too. Please hurry because we gotta clean up shortly. Hey, no phones till we clean up. No phones till we clean up. Oh, gosh. I'm like crazy. All right, so you can go ahead and get started on your homework.